I've chased you across Texas and back, and I've laid my heart in your hands. But you're a blackbird on a high wire singing your song. 1 minute you're here, next minute you've flown. And when you're out of reach, I'm still hanging on. Oh, the one who's more in love is at the mercy of the one who doesn't feel it as strong. And that's how the power lines are drawn.
I am thrilled to have Helene Cronin. You're the second person I ever met named Helene. And my niece is named Helene. You're the second person. I never met anyone else named Helene. And Helene has a new album. The title of the album is Maybe New Mexico. And she is, how do you describe yourself? How do you classify yourself as a singer-songwriter? Is there any particular genre that you attach yourself to? Or?
Well, it's funny because I say that I am a story singer, and I haven't heard anybody else use that word. I've heard song teller, I've heard, singer-songwriter, but I haven't heard anybody say story singer. But that's what people come up to me after shows and say, I love your stories, your songs and the stories and the way you set them up. But I also say that I feel like my writing style is a combination between the raw roots of Americana and the very polished songcraft of Nashville, because that's where I've been trained. How do you write a song that could possibly be on radio? Do you know where the bar is? How do you compete with that? And by learning to write at that level, but then learning to put my heart into songs and my own story into songs, I feel like I'm a kind of a mixture of those two things.
Perfect. And you really are. For those folks who will eventually get the album, and by the way, you can find out more about Helene by going to her website, helenecronin.com. Am I right? It's a .com.
Yes.
And find out more about her, how you can purchase the album. I'm sure it's available on all sources, but it's best to go to through the artist. That's the way I look at it. But anyway, the album is called Maybe New Mexico, which we'll talk about. There is a title of one of the songs on the album. I was first turned on to you and your voice and your stories. As you say, you are a story singer. And that song just blew me away. And that was Power Lines. And when I heard that song, I fell in love with you.
Thank you.
So, and you know what? I have a really bad hearing loss. So I always appreciate it if there are lyrics included. So I didn't have the lyrics because I got the album digitally. So they might be, I have to look and see if there is a link to the lyrics of the album, because I had to give it to my wife and say, listen to this song and help me write down the lyrics. The interesting thing for me in the song is power lines, just the power lines themselves.
The imagery,
You talk about a relationship, and you talk about what went on in this relationship, and that's where the power lines are drawn.
Yep.
What is that? What are you referring to in that?
Well,
this is my own curiosity, Yes.
Well, I hope you have the lyrics. I don't think there's a link anywhere to them, but I could fix that. They are posted on Apple Music, so if you use that app, I do have all the lyrics loaded in there. But Power Lines came out of my last album, Landmarks, was almost all co-writes. I co-write with a lot of people in Nashville. And so I was kind of feeling like I was not forgetting how to write by myself, but I had kind of not made much time for it. So I had a friend named Bree Bagwell, a Texas artist, who invited me to join a song prompt group. And that's where they give you a word or a phrase and you have 2 weeks to write the song, or they kick you out of the group. And one day the prompt was power lines. And I didn't know what to do with it. But then I remembered a long, long ago counseling session where a counselor said the person in the relationship who is least interested in the relationship controls that relationship. And I think we all know that to be true. It's the person who won't text back quick enough or won't call back or doesn't return calls, or they're the ones who decide how much relationship you get to have. And I went, oh, that would be an interesting thing to explore with the title Power Lines. And then that song just, I think I wrote it in an afternoon. I chased you across Texas and back. I laid my heart in your hands. And it just kind of, it went from there. And I almost was stunned and surprised when it says, the one who's more in love is at the mercy of the one who doesn't feel it as strong. And that's how the power lines are drawn. And that just fell out that day that I was writing it. And I was, I love that. And then I wasn't sure it was the kind of song that belonged on an album, because it's not necessarily in detail autobiographical, but it is a feeling that I know. I know that feeling very well. I'm in a long-term marriage, so I'm not in a relationship that's given, come and go like that one is, but I know that feeling of feeling more invested in a relationship and how do you get this other person to care as much. And so I wasn't going to put it on the album, but I have my daughter, who actually lives in Brooklyn, lobbied very hard for that song. She said, Mom, that has to go on your record.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness she lobbied for it, because, as I said, I love that song so much.
Thank you.
That's all I can say. Hey, before we move on with some of the songs on the album, let's talk about you growing up. You grew up on Long Island.
I did. Long Island.
Island.
Long Island.
Wow.
I was born and raised in Rockville Center. And, a lot of my formative years were there. We left by the time I was 10 and South Carolina for a year and a half. And then we came to Texas, where I've pretty much been ever since. But Long Island, my dad had a boat, a cabin cruiser, and we spent a ton of time on the water, fishing, digging for clams, putting down crab pots. I mean, all of my really strong sensory memories are from that period of time. So I identify strongly with that area of the country. And my father's family is all still up in the Hudson River Valley, pretty much between Hudson and Albany. My grandparents lived just south of Kinderhook. And so that was another place that I have very strong memories.
None of us ever asked to be here. Some of us never feel like we belong. Some drift and live out of motel dressers. Others just make themselves at home. But we all got a seat at the table. Pull up a chair, there's room for plenty more. Let's pass the bread and wine along as we're able. We're all passing through the same revolving door. Living, dying, borrowing the years. We're just visitors here. And one by one we arrive like refugees to this place made of stardust and gold. Fill our empty hands with all that we can carry. But love is all we'll take with us When it's time to go, we all got a seat at the table. Pull up a chair, there's room for plenty more. Let's pass the bread and wine long as we're able, 'cause we're all passing through the same revolving door. Living, dying, borrowing the years. We're just visitors here. Oh, hungry, poor, and broken, rich and satisfied. We're about to say the blessing. Wash up, come on inside. 'Cause we all got a seat at the table. Pull up a chair, there's room for plenty more. Let's pass the bread and wine along as we're able. We're all passing through the same revolving door. Living, dying, borrowing the years. Living, dying, borrowing the years. We're just visitors here. Just visitors here.
So great. And then how old were you when I think your next move was to Texas, right?
Well, we did a year and a half in Columbia, South Carolina, but then we got to Texas and we settled in the Dallas area. So I've pretty much been here except for college in Colorado, and I swore I'd never come back to Texas, but came back, met my husband, we raised our family here.
Right.
I've never...
You do have kids.
Yes, I have 2 children, both girls. And, it's funny when you are a female songwriter, and I strongly wanted to have a family. I started songwriting in college. I grew up in a very musical family, very artistic. And so I grew up playing piano and guitar, but it wasn't until college that I really put what I would say was the first real song together. And so I never stopped songwriting, even raising kids and having other jobs and being a real estate agent and coming and going and all of that. I just could not shake the songwriting part. And you get to a stage of life where I just told my husband, I don't ever have to stop songwriting, but if I'm going to pursue this Nashville part where I'm trying to write songs that Tim McGraw or Miranda Lambert or somebody else would consider recording, I got to stop everything else I'm doing and be in Nashville every month. And so starting in 2013, that's what I've done. I've been going to Nashville way longer than that, but I've been going monthly and really making an impact since 2013.
And that, of course, generated your first album. Mm-hmm. How many albums do you have now altogether?
Ooh. Well, I have 3 that I put out, I would say, prior to all my Nashville experience, and they were all contemporary Christian because that's the world that I grew up in. But then I started writing songs from the heart, and it was 2014 when I was in the middle of really getting committed to the Nashville piece that I put out an EP called Restless Heart. 2015, I put out another EP. And then in 2019, by then I won Kerrville Folk Festival New Folk Contest in 2018.
Mention that, yes.
Yeah, which was a big deal. That was a big deal because I was well known in Nashville, but the folk community had never heard of me. And so winning Kerrville was a big acknowledgement that I was on the right track. Yeah. And that I could fit into the folk Americana world, not just, the country songwriting world. And then I put out Old Ghosts and Lost Causes, and I hired our friend Adam Dawson to publicize it. I've never used anybody for publicity before, and it began to make a difference. So I feel like with every record, Adam and I are able to move the needle a little bit and get more recognition and more stations playing it, more I mean, stations all over the world are now playing it where, 5, 10 years ago, nobody ever knew who I was. So it's
That's
just
so
going after
great.
something hard.
Well, you've had a journey in this field.
I
Uh,
have.
are you totally involved in it? Or are you still into real estate or?
No, I stopped everything else at the end of 2012, I stopped everything else.
Okay.
And I bought a little place in Nashville. So I have a home there. I have keep a car there. I fly up, I get to my little house and I start writing with other people and I play shows. I do my recording there. Ever since 2014, everything I record is done in Nashville. And so, yeah, I'm fully committed to, I still live in Dallas. My husband and I are based here and I tour around Texas a little bit, but Nashville is my second home and I'm there as much as I can be there.
That's great. I'm so happy for you. How about your kids? Are they into music at all? Are they
No, not really.
aspiring?
They both, they grew up with forced piano lessons because I feel like that's the best way to learn music and learn scales and kind of understand keys and all that stuff. But they both went their own way and they do different things there. My one daughter who lives in Brooklyn is a writer and she works for a PR firm, and the other daughter is very talented with sales. So they've gone completely their own direction.
Okay, let's talk about some of the songs. How about we did talk about Power Lines? Well, the title of the album is Maybe New Mexico.
Yes.
Talk about that one.
When I was recording Landmarks, there's a writer who used to live in Nashville named Lisa Carver, and I kept thinking I should approach Lisa about writing with me, but she was highly revered by my friend group, and I kept thinking, nah, she's not going to want to write. But I reached out eventually, and we wrote 2 songs that ended up on the Landmarks album. And then I went back out to write with her a couple more times, but I just kind of fell in love with New Mexico. It's about a 10-hour drive out to Taos from Dallas. And so on one trip, I was going out to Albuquerque to play a house concert, and I had left too late in the day to get all the way there. And again, I was in that songwriting prompt group, and the prompt was Hemingway. And so my brain was working on trying to put Ernest Hemingway into a song, but I was also trying to find, okay, where am I going to spend the night? Is it Santa Rosa? Is it Tucumcari? Is it Moriarty? I'm not going to get all the way to Albuquerque, but just the town names are musical to me. They're interesting. It's called the Land of Enchantment, New Mexico is, and I think for a reason. So all of a sudden this lyric started drifting down. That whole first verse I wrote in the car as I was driving and trying to figure out where to stay. So I knew that song was about New Mexico, but I didn't know what. I didn't have the hook about maybe New Mexico will help me let you go. So I did my house concert in Albuquerque. I drove up to Taos to meet Lisa Carver, and our other friend Scott Shawn White joined us. And we wrote a song that's on the album called Not the Year first. And then I said, hey, I have this little thing that I was working on in the car. And I played them that first verse. And it was a really beautiful thing to watch that song come together with 3 of us working on it and going, oh, maybe it's about this. And it's funny because it's the kind of song that I have always wanted to write. And I didn't even know I'd written it with them until I heard Lisa sing it one day in Nashville. And I went, oh my gosh, that song. I felt it emotionally when I heard her sing it. So it's one now that I sing every show that I do. I pretty much will sing maybe New Mexico because I love the picturesqueness of it. I love the town names. To me, it's a beautiful song, the kind
It is.
that I'm very proud of.
And as are most of the songs on this album.
I spent a night in Tucumcari, fell asleep with Hemingway. Last day of January was bitter cold, monochrome gray. I didn't have a reason for stopping there. Sure didn't have a reason to stay. Thought I might try Albuquerque just 'cause I like the name. Or maybe I'll get lost in Las Cruces, or wander down to some border town, find my way up to Santa Fe. I know it's a long shot, but God, I hope maybe New Mexico can help me let you go. Oh, I spent a month in Oklahoma. It still felt too close to Tennessee. I started heading west, and I'll just keep going till I'm over you and me. Maybe I'll get lost in Las Cruces, or wander down to some border town, find my way up to Santa Fe. I know it's a long shot, but God, I hope that maybe New Mexico can help me let you go. And if this don't work, there's always Arizona or California, but I don't want to have to go that far. So maybe New Mexico can help me. Maybe New Mexico can help me. Maybe New Mexico.
They're just beautiful songs, and they come from the heart, and you can tell just Helene's vocals. They're beautiful, and I love the
Thank you.
chord changes and the way your vocals interact with the chord changes. And
Thank you.
you know, it's not only on Power Lines; it's on many of the songs. Where was this album recorded? In Nashville?
Yeah, I recorded it in Nashville.
Okay.
So I recorded it at Sputnik Sound with my friend Mitch Dane and A-list players. But one thing, to go back to your comment about the chords and the music, I really wanted this record to be more stripped down than some that I've done in the past. And so I had no electric guitar. We added keys for the whole session. I had somebody there playing keys, which would be Hammond B3 or Mellotron or vibraphone, or I mean, just all kinds of stuff that he did. And it just added a cool element to it, but it kept the lyrics and the melody and the song center stage to me.
I think that's what attracts, part of what attracts me to the album, including the topics and the songs, but the recording of it, and you know, the feeling you get when you're listening to it. Helene Cronin, I want to thank you so much for being with me today, and hope the album is a great success. Check out Helene's website, helenecronin.com. And as she said, that's Helene, Cronin, and that's easy enough. And in closing, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, just thank you so much for having me on your show and your part of the world. And I just appreciate every opportunity to talk about songs and what I get to do.
And
my life. Thank
and
you.
it is such a great album. Lots of success with it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helene. Have a wonderful afternoon.
All
And
right.
maybe we'll meet up one of these days. Who knows?
I hope so. Thank you so much, Artie. Good to talk to
Okay.
you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Lets me know I'm safe in his hands. Ain't that just like a man? Oh, he's cowboy honest and stubborn as a promise. He's a 5 o'clock shadow. He's leather and flannel. Makes me glad I'm the woman I am. Ain't that just like a man? He don't always know what to say when I'm crying, but he lets me cry on his chest. And most of the time can't fix my worries or problems, but he ain't afraid of my mess. He shoulders my burdens, comforts my hurt, even when he don't understand. He carries the weight when I can't. Ain't that just like